Palantir stock. Hello guys, welcome into today's video. Hope you guys are doing great as always out there. Today we're going to chat about Palantir. So their earnings were this morning, okay? The stock is making a nice upward move. We're going to talk about these earnings. I'm going to take you through some things that were kind of buried in the earnings report that I think are very, very important to look at, okay? If you're trying to judge the stock for positive or for negative, okay? So we're going to go through some of those things in this video here today. I'm also going to share with you where I think this stock is going now. Do I think this stock is kind of out of the woods as far as this whole negativity around the stock price and things like that, and it's just going to continue to move up? Do I think it's going to move back down? I'm going to share all those perspectives in this video. Hope you guys enjoy this as always. All that I ask in return is that you smash that thumbs up button super hard. That helps our YouTube channel out in a massive, massive way. I appreciate all you guys for being here as always. Much love. If you want to join us in Stock Hub, that's our free Discord chat. Check out pinned comment down there. If you want to join my private stock group and my private Discord chat, check out the second pinned comment down there. So first off, in regards to Palantir, let's just talk about the move the stock's making today, and later we'll get into exactly where I think the stock is going now. But it's at 20 bucks, okay? So I'm going to keep in mind here, at 20 bucks, it was just there a few days ago, okay? So, I mean, it's not like this is some type of huge move upward that it's like, oh my gosh, can you believe it just hit 20 like it was there just a few days ago? It just was getting absolutely devastated, right? And look at the volume today. Huge volume up. You know, seeing that type of volume, it almost makes me wonder, you know, I'm surprised the stock's not up more. I mean, that's crazy volume. We still got a while till the market closes here today. 175 million shares just traded hands. That's big volume. But, yeah, so needless to say, it's an 8% move as of now. And, you know, later on, we'll get into exactly what I think is going to happen with the stock price now, okay? So if we go ahead and we look at their numbers here, I like to kind of look at like how, you know, kind of mainstream financial media is like, you know, like putting it out there to the world. And so obviously I'm going to go to CNBC and just kind of see the top headlines. And then we'll go to the investor relations page and look at the numbers from Palantir's actual investor relations page, okay? But Palantir, the maker of software and analytics tools for the defense industry and large corporations, reported 49% revenue growth for the first quarter. From my understanding, that was a very nice beat there. Beating Wall Street estimates, it also came in line with top line estimates. Shares initially dipped on the report, but then obviously they went up. Adjusted earnings came in at 4 cents. 4 cents was expected. Revenue came in at 341 mil. 332 was expected. So it's okay. You know, if we're just going to judge off of those, we got to dig deeper. And whenever you get these earnings reports, a lot of times it's very important to dig deeper. Okay. Especially with one that's kind of comes in line. Like this is like, you know, probably a 5 or a 6 out of 10 type earnings report as far as the baseline numbers here. Like it came in line with EPS and they you know, barely beat on revenue. So, you know, that's okay. It's decent. But I mean, it's certainly not one of those type of earnings reports that's like, oh my gosh, can you believe how much they destroyed earnings by? Not one of those for Palantir, at least this quarter, okay? Now, if we dig a little deeper, now we're going to go to actual Palantir's investor relations page, okay? Total revenue grew 49% year over year to $341 million, so nice growth. U.S. commercial revenue grew 72% year over year. U.S. government revenue grew 83% year over year. So something's missing here, okay? Like bells should go off in your head that something's wrong here when you're seeing U.S. commercial revenue up 72%, government revenue up 83%, and those are highlights there, but yet revenue grew 49%. So something's off here, and we're going to dig into that a little bit more as this earnings report goes on, okay? Cash flow from operations was $117 million, up $404 million, representing a 34% margin. Adjusted free cash flow was $151 million, up $441 million year over year, 44% margin. GAAP net loss per share was 7 cents. Adjusted earnings per share diluted of 4 cents there, okay? As far as outlook, you know, outlook's very, very important. $360 million in revenue, basically 43% year over year growth. Adjusted operating margin, 23%. So first off here, in regards to that, That's a little above what analysts were expecting, okay? So that's why I'd probably give it maybe like a 6 out of 10 for this earnings report. They beat slightly on revenues for this past quarter, and they're guiding for slight beat of revenues versus what analysts were expecting for the next quarter, okay? Now, some take into account, Palantir is somewhat of a newer stock to the public markets, right? It's not like they've been in a public company for 100 years now. So when you're looking at this here, keep in mind they could be, keyword is could be, sandbagging numbers a little bit, okay? Doesn't mean they are. I'm just saying, like, I see it time and time again, newer companies to public markets. I mean, even established companies, like, they understand kind of the game of Wall Street, right? Wall Street likes to see you beat numbers and beat numbers and beat numbers. And so, you know, sometimes if you put some ambitious number out there, you know, you could get your stock price to move up in the short term, but then all of a sudden you miss earnings, and then all of a sudden analysts have trust issues with you and things like that, okay? So, yeah, that's just something to take into account there. For full year 2021, they expect adjusted free cash flow in excess of $150 million. Per long-term guidance as provided by our CEO, Alex Karp, they are still expecting annual revenue growth of 30% or greater 2021 through 2025, which is obviously very, very good news. If anything, if they had to shrink that number, that would have been devastating for the stock that was already devastated, right? So I don't think, you know, I guess it's good they put it in there, but I don't think they really need to put it in there. If anything, if they ever come out with a better number, like they expect 35% or greater, that would really get people excited, needless to say, when it comes to this stock here, okay? Now, let's start digging through some numbers. Let's start digging through some stuff that happened on the conference call. We're going to start digging here, okay? Now that we know kind of the base stuff, okay? So, here, something very important to take into account right off the bat is look at gross profit year over year. So, $165 million of gross profit this same quarter last year. And this year, in the same quarter, $267 million. So they just increased gross profit year over year over $100 million in a 3-month span, okay? That is really, really good news, right? Really, really good news. You want to see that. That's the type of stuff you definitely want to see if you're a shareholder of this company. This is phenomenal, okay? Absolutely phenomenal. Now, I want to go ahead and I want to take a look down here for a moment, okay? So if we see this, we see net loss. It seems like, you know, the business is getting worse. So you're getting conflicting things. You're like, revenue's up big, gross profit's up huge. Okay, great. But then you see net loss, and it's like, oh my gosh, $123 million net loss versus they only lost $54 million in the same quarter last year. And so this is where your brain begins to get fried in this whole situation. You're like, what is going on here, man? Revenue's up big, gross profit's up big, and the company lost more money than ever. What is going on here, okay? Well, you got to dig a little deeper into the numbers, okay? And we got to take a look here, okay? So, right down here, total stock-based compensation they break out for us, okay? $193 million of stock-based compensation. It's a lot, okay? Basically, the company has a ton of expenses going towards stock-based compensation in the short term, okay? This will probably not last forever, but for right now, it is killing profitability for this business. True profitability, GAAP profitability for the business. It's killing it right now, okay? And I don't mean in a good way. I mean in a very, very bad way, okay? So it's what's going on right now. So needless to say, if it wasn't for this insane amount of stock-based compensation of $193 million in this past quarter, the business would have been very, very nicely profitable. Literally, if you take this $193 million out, the business is very, very profitable. But for right now, it is not looking like that, at least on a GAAP basis. On a non-GAAP basis, it looks profitable, but on a non-GAAP basis, on a GAAP basis, it doesn't look good right now, okay? And look at that, year ago, $54 million in total stock-based compensation. So right now, they're just getting destroyed by stock-based compensation in the short term. And a lot of that's to keep employees happy, keep employees around, want employees to do the best for the company over the long term because they want to see their shares increase dramatically and be able to retire young and have a lot of money and things like that, right? So I can understand it, but just that is a factor to take into account there, okay? Now, if we go ahead and we look at their balance sheet, what do we see? $2.3 billion now on cash and cash equivalents. As long as this company doesn't pay out any dividends and as long as they continue to increase profitability over time, I mean, they should really start building up a very nice cash balance in future years. This is definitely a company I could see long term having a $10 billion plus cash balance, okay? And maybe someday hypothetically, someday, maybe they can get into like tens of billions of dollars of cash and cash equivalents. Because like I said, with a business model like this, I think long term is going to be extremely profitable because it's such a sticky business. But we got some things to get into here still in this video, some interesting things, okay? No, this was interesting. Billings was up 248%. Now, I didn't quite understand this the best, I'll be honest, so I'm going to probably ask one of our certified CPAs maybe in the private stock group to maybe explain this one to me a little bit, because it was a little confusing because I was looking at revenues, but then they got billings here up 248%. I was like, ooh, that's a really, really exciting number. So I'm going to ask around about that and have that explained to me in a little bit better of a format, because that I wasn't quite getting when I was looking at it there, okay? This took me by surprise. This is almost shocking to me, okay? Look at this. I mean, I thought the big days of government growth for this company, honestly, were behind it. I thought this was really just a story moving forward about commercial customers and, you know, big Fortune 500 companies. I thought that was the whole story. Government growth of 76% year over year. I'm telling you, that really took me by surprise, guys. That is really, really good news. If you think the government business is like there's no growth there, the numbers speak differently, and this is phenomenal news. And I think Wall Street's really going to like this number as well. And the reason I think Wall Street's going to like this number a lot is because Wall Street's still having, you know, big money, Wall Street, hedge funds, things like that. They're still having a lot of trouble, like understanding how much they can grow into Fortune 500 companies and maybe mid-sized companies longer term, right? And so they're still trying to figure out that. But the government side is a little easier to understand as far as the growth there. And when you see 76%, that's impressive, okay? Very, very impressive number there. That really, really took me by surprise. And that was something I looked at in the report, and I was like, that's really, really good news. It was a conflicting earnings report because there's some really, really good things here. And there's some things that aren't so good that we got to get into. And one of them we kind of already got into a little bit, okay? Look at this. Q1, they hired 50 new salespeople. From my understanding, you know, there was a time period in Palantir's history where they were very against salespeople and they thought they didn't need salespeople. Well, I tell you, if they're going to, you know, scale this company to a, you know, $100 billion market cap or hundreds of billions of dollars market cap, they need salespeople, okay? They need folks to, you know, speak with these organizations and explain why Palantir is a game changer for these organizations and like why you have to use Palantir, like why not, okay? And so you need Salesforce to do that. So that's good. You should like to see 50 new salespeople there, okay? Now, okay, this is another one of those things to dig a little deeper. Questionable, okay? Very, very strange here. Look at this, okay? Total commercial growth, 19% year over year. That's not very impressive. That's not very impressive at all, to be completely honest, okay? This is very, very confusing. Our commercial business generated $133 million in revenue in Q1 2021, up 19% year over year, with 72% growth from U.S. commercial customers. Wow. Okay, so they grew 72% when it comes to U.S. commercial customers, but yet they only grew 19%. So what happened to non-United States commercial customers? Did things just fall off a cliff there? Or what in the world happened, okay? Because, you know, I still got to listen to the conference call. I'm going to see if I'm hoping one of the analysts, if they're smart enough, really like hammered home about this to get the information out of them, because this is worrisome. This is worrisome. To only have 19% total commercial growth, but have 72%, it just means essentially something happened with non-U.S. commercial customers and it wasn't pretty, okay? So that is something we need some clarification on in a big, big way. I'm going to listen to the conference call later today. Hopefully there was some clarification on the conference call. If there wasn't, this is something you would want to, especially if you're a Palantir shareholder, this is something you'd want to potentially email their investor relations about and ask for a little explanation on that. They might not be able to give the finite details of whatever happened here, like, oh, ABC customer, but they should be able to give a general information about this because that's too big of a discrepancy in numbers there, and that's material stuff. So they should be able to give some information about that, okay? But yeah, that was something that I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And that's why, you know, you can't just look at whatever the base numbers are CNBC puts out there in Bloomberg. You have to look deeper in these earnings reports, because you're going to find out some stuff that's going to probably make you a lot more bullish, or give you a little pause for caution and be like, let's research this a little bit more. Why did this, you know, thing happen here? Okay. So something else very, very interesting. Palantir added in the company's earnings call that it was considering adding Bitcoin to its balance sheet, saying cryptocurrency was definitely on the table. It also accepts Bitcoin as a form of payment. Now, this is intriguing, guys. This is very, very intriguing, okay? So one of the reasons I said, you know, it's harder for me to imagine a massive Bitcoin crash again, you know, to, I don't know, 10,000 or under, or 20,000 or something like that. It's hard for me to imagine that, because I'm watching more and more big companies adopt Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, you know, but mainly Bitcoin, right? They're adding it to the balance sheet. They're starting to take it as payment and things like that. And so when you see stuff like that, it's harder, and it's getting harder and harder to imagine Bitcoin falls to 10,000, 20,000, something like that. It can happen. It's just now big money's starting to back this in a big way. And when big money's starting to back it, all of a sudden now you have, you know, huge buyers in the market for Bitcoin. They're looking for hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin, maybe even billions of dollars in Bitcoin. And so the fact that they're thinking about converting, because they got, what, $2.3 billion in cash we saw on the balance sheet, you know, maybe they're going to buy 200 mil of Bitcoin or 300 mil of Bitcoin or something like that, right? And then if they accept it as payment, I don't know who's going to pay them in the short term, because most of these big companies don't really do it like that as of right now. But this is intriguing, guys. I got to say, this is actually really, really intriguing. I think this is something that, honestly, it's more bullish if you're bullish on Bitcoin and you're bullish on cryptocurrencies than you're bullish on Palantir, because Palantir adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet's not changing the game for Palantir. However, you know, this is the type of stuff you love to see if you are a Bitcoin bull, or if you are somebody like myself that I own a very small amount of Bitcoin and a very small amount of cryptos in general, but I do have many hundreds of thousands of dollars invested into crypto brokerages. And so even somebody like myself that owns crypto brokerages, I've got to say, this is good news. Okay, good news. That one of the most famous companies in the stock market right now, Palantir, is saying it's definitely on the table to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet. Okay, and they're accepting it as a form of payment. Woo. Okay, and so yeah, if you're bullish on Bitcoin or cryptos, you better be very, very happy about that. Okay, now let's talk about this stock price. Okay. And let's have a little discussion on what I think is going on with the stock price, where I think the stock price is going, what I think is going to happen here, okay? So, I think we have a potential fake out situation here, okay? This isn't a lot of conviction buying here. An 8% move, it's okay, but on that sort of volume, to not get it to move up more than 8% is a little, and remember, going into this earnings, this stock was devastated. It was down and down and down, beaten down. So, I mean, they'd already priced in like they were going to miss earnings huge or something like that, right? Like it was going to be a disastrous earnings. It was clearly not a disastrous earnings. Like I said, I would rate it a 6 out of 10, right? A 10 out of 10 would probably be Apple's latest earnings, where they just they beat revenue by $12 billion and they like crushed EPS, right? That's like a perfect earnings. You look at FB, that was near perfect. Amazon was probably a 9 out of 10. Palantir was about a 6 out of 10. But it's not like this is moving on a massive conviction here or something like that. So it's a possibility of a fake out. I don't know that Wall Street is going to have fully understood this stock yet, okay? And that's still what's waiting to move. You know, retail shareholders and some traders, they can maybe potentially move the stock up for a day or two. But if you're going to get a sustained rally where the stock hits 25, 30, makes its ways back to 40, 45, right? And maybe even to new all-time highs, you need the big money behind you. You need the hedge funds. You need Wall Street behind you, okay? It's not getting there from retail investors and just some traders in the stock, okay? Well, that can get the stock up for a day or two, but it's not getting the stock up to the huge levels, okay? And based upon what I kind of saw in the earnings report, once again, I still have to listen to a conference call here today, but what I saw in the earnings report, I didn't see anything that it's going to make the folks on Wall Street say they've got to go buy this stock now, okay? And that's good for somebody like myself that wants to potentially add a bunch of shares of stock. And like if anybody's a buyer of the stock, you kind of actually want that. You don't want Wall Street jumping in this right now, right? Especially if you want to be a buyer of the stock or buy more shares, okay? Now, something very, very important I just want to point out here. When Wall Street, hedge funds, big money in general, or just humans in general, when they're cautious on something, they don't understand it well, and they see something that gives them a feedback of a reason to be scared or worried, or to even say they don't want it, they don't want part of it. If they get anything like that, it's kind of like validation for them, and it makes them keep out of it for even longer. So something like we ran through when it came to the fact that total US commercial customers were up over 70%, but yet that line item was only up 19%. So which means likely non-US customers, I don't know what happened there, but it looks like a bunch of them you just didn't go through, or something messy happened there. When somebody's negative on a stock, Wall Street's negative on a stock, and they see something like that, they're going to say, oh, that's a reason I shouldn't be in this stock. It's not worth my time. Or when they see something like, oh, they're buying Bitcoin. I don't like Bitcoin. Therefore, I'm not, you know, when you get some of these validation points almost, you're kind of like, Or when you see, if you just look at the raw numbers, the GAAP earnings, right? They lost obviously a lot more money this quarter than they did the previous year in the same quarter, right? If you don't dig a little deeper and you don't see that's stock-based compensation was a big part of that, then, you know, when you're just looking at the baseline numbers, you're like, oh, yeah, they're a huge money losing company, losing money worse than ever. Now they want to stick their money in Bitcoin, and, you know, non-US commercial customers look like it didn't do so well. All of a sudden you get into the situation where, you know, Wall Street's like, nah, that's not the stock for me still, okay? And so that's why it is, I will say, this rally looks a little fishy. And I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back to $18 or $17. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Maybe this is it, and maybe now the stock just pushes and pumps and just moves up and up and up. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if within a week this stock's back to $17, $18. I'll just be completely honest with you guys, because I'm not sure this earnings report was the one that made Wall Street say, we got to buy the stock. The revenue beat was slight. The outlook is slightly better than was expected, but nothing is shocking there. And, you know, the people that were not already on this bandwagon, that don't want to really get on the bandwagon to begin with, some of those folks are going to look at some of those numbers that came out, and if they do dig a little bit deeper and say, not sure about this. And even if they don't dig a little deeper and they just look at GAAP earnings, they're going to be like, oh, company's losing more money than ever. Stock-based compensation, man, like, you know, dig a little deeper. So that's some food for thought here. I'm still absolutely interested in buying the stock. I'll just say that much, okay? I thought it was good earnings. Like I said, I thought it was a solid 6 out of 10. And, you know, hey, you know, not every company's going to report a 9 or a 10 earnings. That's just the bottom line, man. You know, those are... You know, I'm sure Palantir might have days in the future where they have 9 or 10 earnings on them. It's not right now, though. It's just, you know, slight beats, and hey, that's respectable as well. Anyways, guys, much love as always. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and you got notifications on. We got a lot of videos coming for you guys. Peace.